Welcome back to He's on Fire podcast. I'm so sorry I couldn't be with you guys on Sunday. I was out sick and kind of a bummer because we had a really big announcement, but we're not going to get into that right away. We need to talk about Kevin Durant. No, I'm kidding. We have talked about Kevin Durant enough. I think everybody has. I still believe in my heart that Kevin Durant will be a Sun. It's just going to take some time, especially with the tweets coming out this week from Woj and Shams, and KD met with Josiah, and Josiah's like, I'm backing my GM and I'm going to back my coach. Like, that just all signs point to KD. But it's NFL season. And in a lot of places around the country, NFL is king. And I am finally to a place where I have gotten over that lowly Monday Night Football playoff loss. And now I'm looking straight ahead. Fortunately, the Cardinals can't really get out of their own way right now. But you know what? I don't care. Because I'm a Cardinals fan at heart, you're a Cardinals fan at heart, and this is our year. Super Bowl's being hosted where? Kyler Murray gets locked up and he has his big extension and no more wiping of an Instagram. He's got his best friend on the team. Something good is going to happen in the desert this year. I just get that feeling. I'm not going to overhype it. I'm not going to oversell it. I just get a feeling this year. But we have a big announcement on our way. We've got Joe from the Cardinal Rules joining us. We're going to get into a couple other different topics. He's on Fire podcast. Welcome back, y'all.
Urkabici sets, looks up, and it is caught! Down strong! Blitz coming, Matthews, Palmer extending the play, crosses the field, Larry Fitzgerald. There he scores, it's over! It's insane to the 4-yard line. Crowder looking, throws it alley-oop. Oh! He puts it down! He puts it down! They're getting a little wobbly. Philadelphia just out the foot race. They won't get it. Center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
I don't know, man. That's starting to pump me up again. It is August. Kids are going back to school. We're starting to get all the good shows back on TV. It's starting to get a little bit cooler here. I don't know about Arizona. Sucks for y'all right now, but it's getting a little bit cooler here, and that means football is in the air. First and foremost, we have to welcome the one, the only Jay Joyce, my co-host in crime. What's going on, Jay? How you feeling, buddy?
I'm doing all right. The weather out here in Arizona, it's very off and on when it comes to the dry heat and the humidity. I mean, it's raining right now, but it's going to be terrible in like 15 minutes when it comes to temperature. But I'm doing all right, man. The same old. This Kevin Durant stuff has been driving me up a wall, and I'm glad that we're finally kind of moving away in a sense and just focus on the NFL. We have a game Friday against Cincinnati. We're getting into that time. And I'm just pumped, dude. Everything that I've been seeing or reading from training camp and just all the clips and stuff, it's got me hyped. I'm actually really excited about this year. Evan, like last season when we were getting into, the season, like, we were doubtful. Like, we were crossing our fingers and toes.
You weren't.
Hoping for the best. I had my prediction.
You said 13 wins. I was like 7.
Like, I had my prediction, but, being Arizona sports fans, like, you can't put your hopes up too high. And, I'm really looking forward to this season. Hopefully we start out strong and we just keep on going at it. But, yeah, I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
All good things. It's kind of funny. My wife is watching now. She usually doesn't watch and support me, but she's watching tonight. She's a Cowboys fan, and here's Sonia. More Cowboys garbage going on here. You guys are going to become friends on here. We have to welcome the one, the only Joe from the Cardinal Rule. Joe, what's going on, man? How are we doing tonight? And thank you for joining.
Man, thanks for having me. I'm doing good. Excited. First week of football, and we're gonna have football until sometime in February, going every week. So it's an exciting time of the year. The pumpkin spice is just around the corner. The whole but yeah, fall is my favorite time.
Rejected.
I was a little late on that, but
as well you should reject that. Yeah, pumpkin spice should be rejected. But yeah, man, fall's my favorite time of year between the weather starting to cool down, between football in the air, the holidays around the corner. So, it's still a little warm. I'm here in Georgia. It's still a little hot and muggy here, but there's just this something in the air, something on the wind that tells you that better days are coming.
Better days are coming. You can still go out to the lake if you want. It's not too late, but football is right around the corner. Joe, tell everybody where they can find your work, please.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at the Cardinal Rule. I do live streams. I do some deep dive analyses. Like I just dropped a video this week on the whole Starbacker thing. What is the Starbacker that Isaiah Smith? Yeah, so if you want to kind of get a better idea what that is, and is that any different than the Dan Buchanan money backer, watch my video and you'll find out. So I do stuff like that. And then you can also find my work on azsportsunderground.com. I do some writing there, which I think we might talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But yeah, and then you can find me on Twitter at links to my Twitter or on my YouTube. So the best place to find me is subscribe on YouTube at the Cardinal Rule, and then my social links are all there.
So you hinted at it. We might as well get it out of the way now. We have some great news from He's on Fire podcast.
He's on fire!
We will be officially joining the AZ Sports Underground team effective immediately. In fact, I'm going to have my first article up tomorrow or Friday. Still trying to figure out how the WordPress stuff works. I'm sure I can figure it out. But you're going to have a fresh article by me coming up for the weekend. And I'm excited about this partnership. We talked about it as a podcast, and we just couldn't see any downside to it. So we're really excited to join you guys. Our list of friendships and partnerships is growing. We have bigger things planned for the future, so stay tuned for that. For right now, we're just going to do some writing and be able to catch the podcast on there sooner or later, absolutely. But you can find us at AZ Sports Underground right now. So, Joe, tell us more about AZ Sports Underground and how you kind of envision He's on Fire podcast maybe lining up with that as of right now.
Yeah, so AZ Sports Underground, it started out. We launched it a couple weeks back. Myself and Kyler Bird, who used to do some writing for the fan-sided blogs, and we wanted to kind of create sort of this independent network of content creators, folks like you guys and us. Like, I'm first and foremost a content creator, and we want to create a place where we can all kind of connect, support one another. Like that I can tell my audience, hey, go check out the He's on Fire podcast. They're doing good work over there. And that hopefully your folks that follow you can kind of get connected to what I do. And also that we can just, help each other in terms of building a collegial network. Doing content creation, sometimes it can be a little lonely, and having people who know, what you're doing and can work together and just kind of collaborate like that and like this.
Yes.
Is a nice thing, but also have a place for people who want to get into doing writing and content creation. We've got about 7 or 8 folks who are writing with us. Some of them have written before. Some of them, this is their first time writing, but they love their Arizona sports. So we're giving them a place to kind of get their feet wet and kind of try out writing. And, it's been great so far. So, if you're used to going to blog sites that cover Arizona sports, it's going to feel familiar. You're going to find articles about, many Arizona sports teams. You'll find stuff I write. And then obviously Evan's article will drop soon. So, it's another place to get some great content from people who love Arizona sports teams.
And that's what we're all about. That is what we are all about. Our passion, how do we phrase getting hurt all the time?
Commiserating in these really dysfunctional relationships we have with these Arizona sports teams.
But together, and
Yes.
and we got the president of ASAP Sports on here saying he loves it and congratulations. I mean, we couldn't do it without the partnership here that we have with ASAP Sports and with the AZ Sports Underground. So azsportsunderground.com, just as you say it, AZ Sports Underground, nothing fancy there. Go check it out. I'll be tweeting about it, and it's all good things. But damn it, you guys, football is here. We had the first preseason game. We have our first official one this week. I mean, let's talk about that real quick. I mean, nobody was really expecting Kyler Murray to play a lot, especially in his 4th year. So it's good that he's not playing. We're going to have McSorley, Penn State alumni, I believe. He's going to be taking the reins and throwing bombs to Dortch, who's lighting it up again. And then we'll see what they do kind of on defense. Joe, do you take any substance from preseason games? Because I don't. Anything that happens in a preseason game doesn't mean a damn thing to me. I don't care if it's scheme or what it is. To me, it does not matter. But do you take anything, especially now that there's only 3 preseason games?
For me, there's 2 things I'm looking at with preseason games. One, it is a chance to see some of the rookies and the deeper roster players who you're not likely to see much during the regular season. It might be your only chance to see them on the field, right? So from that perspective, it's kind of exciting. We're all excited about what Eno Benjamin is going to do, hopefully at this point. Well, up until a little bit last year, those preseason games were the only place you got to see Eno, right? So I love to see the rookies. So that's just more of a personal thing. There is one thing I take out of preseason games, but it's like you said, it's not scheme, it's not play calling. In fact, there's been research that's looked at that, and the preseason games do not have any predictive value in terms of what they're going to do in the season or how players will perform. But what I look at is I look at who is not playing, because that tells you something. For example, last year...
You mean not guys that aren't suiting up, more like rookies or whoever that just don't see the field?
But not just rookies, right? Because it depends. Because like if it's a player who's been on the roster for a couple years and they're not seeing the field, what that tells me is the team has a role for them already, right? For example, last year, Christian Kirk didn't really see the field, right? And, with AJ Green coming in, the drafting of Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk being on the last year of his rookie deal and DeAndre Hopkins, there was at least some question of how much of a role he going to have. Well, clearly he had a huge role, and they had that role defined, so he didn't see the field. But conversely, there was a player, for example, Michael Manet, a center they drafted on day 3, I think it was in the 6th or 7th round, who didn't play. And it wasn't because he had a role, it was because he was on his way out, and he didn't even end up on the practice squad, right? So I'm looking at the players who aren't playing. Like if Rondale Moore isn't playing, that's a good sign, because that means they have a clearly defined role for him and they know what they want with him, right? But if a rookie who was undrafted isn't playing, that's not good for him, because you've got to see what happens over a couple games. But if that guy doesn't see the field, then they probably don't see him as legitimately competing for a spot. They already have their decision about him, and he's a camp body. So that, to me, matters, right? It gives you an idea of who is actually legitimately competing for a spot. If it's a marginal player and they're playing, they are. If they're not, they're not. And it also tells you if they're a veteran, is their role with the team solidified?
That completely makes sense. You kind of swayed me to a point. I'm also of the mind that, the guys that do go in there and play, they're not going 100%. They might not even be playing the correct position that they need to play. It's just for bodies at this point, because so many veterans are not going to play. So I respect that answer. I do, but I want to hear from Jay. Jay, do you take any weight into any preseason game?
I do, to a certain extent. I know that sounds like a cop-out because it is preseason, but
it is a cop-out.
But most teams in the NFL, there's question marks around the whole roster and stuff, and what you're looking for. In our case, it's the corner position, the D-line, the linebacker position, and the offensive line to a certain extent. That is kind of up in the air depending how everybody's health is. So the linebacker position is what I'm mostly looking at. We're going to be seeing Zaven Collins a lot more, which is reported. And then we're going to see Isaiah Simmons kind of bouncing around, which I'm not in too favor for. I just want him solid in one position, maybe two, if push comes to shove. I don't want to see him as safety, corner, and linebacker. I don't want to see all that, So hopefully they figure something out with him where we can just hit his strong suits. Then the corner position, sadly we lost Jeff Gladney, and then we didn't get to see Malcolm Butler. And who knows how Marco Wilson's going to be this year. dealt with injury last year, and then the guys I filled in towards the back half of the season were kind of just getting picked over by receivers and stuff. So there's a lot of things we need to tackle on and figure out by the time week 1 starts. But
Yeah.
the two positions that I'm gonna be looking at mostly is the cornerback position and the linebacking position.
I totally get that. I totally get where you guys are coming from. You have swayed me a little bit. I'll give you that. I'm probably not going to be able to watch the game because I'm not in market or anything like that, and it's hard. It's hard out here when you're not in market. To be honest with
send
you,
you a link.
to some of these preseason games, I can catch a link and whatnot. But I just for the first one, I don't know if I just want to put myself through that because I remember Twitter last year freaking out over the bad performances and the bad offense. Freaking out for 3 games straight. And I just don't know if I want to put myself through that. But you know what I do want to
NFL Plus?
even if I have NFL Plus, I don't know if I want to watch the second one. If Kyler Murray plays a little bit more, I'm a little more intrigued, but I take it all with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. I really do. Because week 1, you're going to look completely different. And then week 2 and 3, you look completely different. Remember the Green Bay Packers last year losing week 1 by like 56 points, and then they win like 9 in a row?
Yeah.
So it's hard early in the season. It's going to be hard with Hop being out, but we're going to get into that. Right now, we need to talk about who are the threats in the NFC. Let's not talk about the NFC West right now, though. I just don't want to talk about the Rams anymore and the 49ers, even though we love you 49ers, cut back. We'll have you on soon. I just can't do it. So why don't we start with the NFC South? You guys good with the NFC South? Falcons, Panthers, Saints, Buccaneers. So Buccaneers, they now have Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, looking like he's going to be ready to play and all that. But how much can you really trust Chris Godwin coming off of an injury like that? Is Leonard Fournette going to be overweight? How is that defense going to be able to keep up again after kind of losing a half step last year? And then you lose Gronk too, and that's a big thing. So the Saints, who do we have on the Saints? You still got Alvin Kamara, right? But he's kind of going through some legal issues right now. He could even get suspended halfway through the season. Chris Olave, a draft pick there. Chris Olave is nice. That's going to be awesome. And is Michael Thomas going to come back? Who's their quarterback, though?
Right.
Jameis? Okay. Yeah. Other quarterback battles. Look at the Panthers right now. Baker versus Sam Darnold. As of right now, what I heard on a couple of the podcasts that I listened to is that looking like it's Baker. He's got a little bit of the front edge, right? Is Christian McCaffrey going to stay healthy? Are the Panthers going to beat us again? And then you got the Falcons, who Drake London, Kyle Pitts, arguably the best young tandem receivers, because Kyle Pitts is a receiver in the league. Do they have anything else? I mean, does Grady Jarrett still play there? Like, what else do they have? So this is a building year for the Falcons. I'm sorry, Roy, if you're still watching. I know you're a diehard Falcons fan, and I got love for Kyle Pitts. If I can draft him in the 4th round this year, I'm doing it. I don't care who the quarterback is. Joe, NFC South, who do you see being the dud? Who do you see being the surprise team? Who do you see just coming out of the pack?
So, the Buccaneers are one of the most complete teams in the NFL, in my opinion. I know there's some questions. Every team has them, but that to me is the class of that division, and potentially arguably the class of the NFC. They're going to be one of those top 3 teams. Really? The Buccaneers? Okay. Oh, yeah. So, I think they're the top team in that division. The Saints are a big question mark, right? With a new coach, but it's still the same coaching staff. But you've got Jameis. Sean Payton did some wonders for Jameis Winston, but without Sean Payton there, does he become the old Jameis? Right? We don't know. That they've got some nice players. They've got Trevor Penning. That's an interesting story in and of itself. He's going to start fights with every team in the league this year and his own teammates. But the Saints are the wild card for me. Like, what are they going to be? I think the Panthers. I just their quarterback situation's been too much in turmoil. With the way that Baker kind of got done dirty by the Browns, even though I'm not a huge Baker fan, I'd love to see it work out for him because he deserved better than the way they treated him. But I think they're a little bit of a mess. The Falcons, if there's a team that's going to surprise people, I actually say it's the Falcons. And their quarterback situation is tough with Mariota, and then you've got Desmond Ridder, a rookie who knows what you get there. But Arthur Smith did a hell of a job coaching last year. They outperformed their roster talent last year. And I know Falcons fans feel good about the coach, even if they're not sold on their quarterback situation. And you mentioned Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and this, I've heard people talk about this. So this isn't an original Joe thought, but most teams have maybe one guy who can cover someone that big, but you don't usually have two guys that can cover receivers or tight ends as big as London and Kyle Pitts, right? So they have, although there's some issues at quarterback, they have this really intriguing mismatch with these two really big, talented receivers, and most teams don't have two guys that can cover those types of big receivers. So I think the team that will surprise people, and I'm not necessarily predicting a playoff berth, but a team that I think will surprise people and be better than they're expecting is the Falcons. And, that might not necessarily even mean an improvement in number of wins this year, but I just think they'll be feisty and competitive and well coached.
I think those are all fair assessments. Jay, what do you got for us on the NFC South battle?
The NFC South, it's not a division I'm completely tuned into. There's a lot of mediocre stuff that's going on in there. I mean, with Atlanta, I was kind of excited to see him this year without having Matt Ryan and then moving into a different direction now. I really wanted to see Calvin Ridley and those other two receivers go out, but we know what's going on with Ridley right now. So
Lame.
So I don't see him winning more than 7 games really. But with the Panthers, I'm on the opposite side from you, Joe. I'm sorry if you hear my kid; she's not going to sleep. But
That's right.
I'm actually a Baker guy. I think he got blamed for a lot of stuff, which I don't think was entirely his fault. He should have been able to really flourish in Cleveland, and he did to a certain extent, but he should have did a lot more. I do agree with that, and I think this might be a rehabilitation for him down in North Carolina to figure some stuff out. Hopefully Christian McCaffrey stays healthy. I mean, that's been his biggest issue. I think most people would pick Saquon over Christian, but I think Christian is the more talented running back at the end of the day. He just can't stay healthy. Same thing with Saquon. I'm hope we still haven't gone like a half a season with him healthy or having a good season. So I'm a big Christian McCaffrey guy, even though he went to Stanford. I'm not a Stanford guy, but Carolina, I can definitely see him winning up to 10 games at least, as long as Baker.
I can see that world.
Yeah, I think with the division and with the schedule that's coming up for them, I think a lot less weight is on Baker's shoulders to go ahead and proceed and compete with the weapons that he has. I mean, the defense is still solid. The offensive line is above average, so I think he can definitely do something down there. But with the Saints, I have no hope in the Saints. Michael Thomas, it's the same thing with he's injury prone. I can count on my hand how many times I've seen Michael Thomas, play. With Sean Payton not being there.
They do have Tyrann Mathieu now.
Yeah, they do, but
Chris Olave.
I just don't
Jarvis
see
Landry.
Yeah, they have all of that, and I just don't see anything happening because the offensive line is ranked one of the worst, I believe. I think bottom 10 in the league, and with the defense kind of being a little behind that as well. So I just don't know, honestly. I mean, I like Jameis Winston. I think he's a really funny guy, and I want to see him. I want to see him perform. I just don't see it happening. And with the last team, it's just going to take the cake with Brady coming back after retiring for just a month, and he's just like, you know what? Let me school these kids again. So Brady's back. Julio Jones, he has Julio now. That's scary alone. Then Chris Godwin, and then Leonard Fournette. I have been seeing that he's lost some weight, and it looks like he put on a little bit of muscle. So I'm kind of excited to see that. And has Jason Pierre-Paul signed with anybody yet?
I don't think he has, as far as I know.
No, but you know who did sign with them? Who really pissed me off was Akeem Hicks.
Oh
Great
yeah,
pickup by them.
yeah. So I mean,
Also, Bruce Arians ain't coach no more.
yeah.
Yeah, I think though I feel pretty good about their. I think they'll be fine in terms of the coaching situation though. And running back, I wouldn't. I mean, Leonard Fournette, even if he doesn't.
Who's the backup? Who's the backup?
They've got
backup. Rashad White, Arizona State, great.
Oh, yeah,
you guys
right.
watch out for Rashad White. Rashad White is going to do some things for them. He's going to do some things.
You don't need a star running back to win. In fact, from a roster construction perspective, sometimes you're better off not building that way because of just the cost. They've got good depth at running back, so yeah, they'll be fine even without Fournette, or if Fournette doesn't pan out this year, if he's not healthy. I would say, and I appreciate what you say about Baker, and don't get me wrong, I don't hate Baker. I'm kind of neutral on him, but I definitely think he got done dirty, with everything. Absolutely. But I will disagree with you on the Saints defense. It's actually, they've got a really solid defense. And their offensive line isn't, I think, as bad as you might think if you look at it. Penning they've got, a rookie starting at tackle. That's maybe a little bit of a question mark, but the Saints defense is actually pretty darn good, I think.
Local product, Andres Pete starting at left guard. I mean, I still like Cameron Jordan. No matter how old he gets on Madden, he's still going to crush you. You still got to double team him over there. I do like Demario Davis as well, too. It all comes down to Jameis and Alvin Kamara. Is Alvin Kamara going to be that 80 reception guy again? Is he going to get suspended? What does Jarvis Landry look like in this? Where does Chris Olave fit? I mean, the weapons are there. And don't forget, the Swiss Army knife and Taysom Hill, who can randomly do some things. And all of a sudden he has 2 touchdowns in a game and you're down 28-7. So I see that with the Saints. To me, I think they would finish third. I would put the Falcons as fourth. I think most people would put the Falcons there. I liked Marcus Mariota in college. It's a shame he hasn't been able to show out like we kind of assumed he would. Yeah. But let's see. Can Cordero Patterson, is he going to have that type of season again where he's just the ultimate X factor, the ultimate Swiss Army knife? Age comes at you, especially at that position, running back, wide receiver. I mean, granted, he played a lot of wide receivers, so he doesn't have a lot of mileage as a running back. But can he do it again? That's tough. But I can't say enough about Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and I think that's going to be awesome. Grady Jarrett is still on the roster, so that's a guy I hope someday can play for the Cardinals. You look at Carolina. You look at their defense too, Brian Burns and company. I like them. I don't like Matt Rule, even though he owns Cliff Kingsbury. I don't like him and his system. There's just something that I can't put my finger on it because I don't follow them every day. I just don't trust it, for lack of better words. And then to me, lack of weapons on the outside. Yeah, DJ Moore is nice. Robbie Anderson has fizzled out every year he's been there. Does Baker make it better? Does Baker make it worse? Terrence Marshall Jr., you could talk me into that. But DJ Moore being your number one, that's nice. But is he a top 10 wide receiver? Arguably. He's not for sure a top 10. He arguably. And then Christian McCaffrey, obviously we know. But look at Chuba Hubbard and Donna Foreman as well, too. So they have some nice depth at running back, and that's kind of where their go-to is. But, yeah, man, the Buccaneers. Rashad White, Leonard Fournette. Then you got Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Rashad Perryman, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage. Underrated signing. Kyle Rudolph at tight end for them. Very underrated in my opinion. I think that's going to pay dividends in the red zone. And then this defense, Logan Ryan, Antoine Winfield, Shaq Barrett, Levante David, Devin White, William Goldson, Akeem Hicks, Vita Vey. Like that is a tough defense.
They're deep at cornerback, which is a good place to be deep at too.
They got Sean Murphy Bunting is like a second stringer. And he would start on most teams. So a lot going on there. Anything else you guys want to throw in for the NFC South?
Just one last thing about the Buccaneers. They do need to bring in a center. I wouldn't be surprised if J.C. Treader signed there. Their starting center got injured, and just today, Hainsey, their backup, got carted off. So they're going to be looking for a center. That's the one issue that they've got right now, I'd say.
Getting thin.
Yeah.
And who knows with injuries, and unfortunately it happens. NFC North. Anybody watch Hard Knocks last night with
I
the
did.
Detroit Lions? I did too. That was awesome. Everybody knows, if you joined us with Johnny Venerable from PHNX Sports, we both have a mini love affair when it comes to the Detroit Lions, because we both had family and friends that were Lions fans and grew up watching those games. I learned football because of Michigan football in Detroit from my grandfather, who was a big fan. So I always kind of root for the Lions. They're the lovable losers, right? They're the Cubs of however many years. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're pushing a 9-8 season and fighting for the last playoff spot towards the last 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know if they'll make it this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. I mean, DeAndre Swift and Jamal Charles, that's arguably your best 1-2 tandem in the NFL as far as running backs and talent are concerned. Offensive line, obviously a little bit of a different question, but guess who they got in free agency? DJ Chark, a guy that me and Jay wanted on this team for the Cardinals. We wanted them. And then Jamison Williams, he's going to be out for a while. Still a nice pick. TJ Hawkinson, very underrated tight end. I don't even know if he's underrated anymore. I think he's properly rated now. You go into the defensive side, there's your questions. Jeff Okudah, is he going to show up, or is he just going to be this enormous bust? It's a good thing they signed our guy Chase Lucas from Arizona State, because I think he's going to be able to do some things over there. Aiden Hutchinson, can he be that guy? I mean, you watched the Hard Knocks last night. It already kind of looks like it, I think he could have one of those names blanking defensive end rusher for the freaking 49ers, this number 2
Bosa.
pick. Bosa.
Nick Bosa.
He could have a Bosa-like impact. Michael Brockers is nice. So they have dudes back there, but they don't have dudes.
Yeah.
So that's the Lions. What's your take on the Lions, Joe? Let's stick on them for a quick minute.
It's interesting because you think of the personality, right, of their coach and biting kneecaps, and dude, listen, he's going to be the star of this season of Hard Knocks, right?
I'm already
Dan
a
Campbell,
fan.
right? Yeah. But you think of his personality, and you would think that his team would be a defensive, hard-nosed team, right? But that defense is a work. To say it's a work in progress is being kind, right? I mean, they've got a couple nice pieces. Obviously Hutchinson, but I also like the guy they got in the second round, Josh Pascal, the other side of the edge rush, and he's a guy who is set a good edge against the run, but also rush the passer. So I think those two are going to be some nice defensive end bookends or edge rushing bookends for years to come.
Unfortunately, he went hernia surgery this offseason. There's no timetable for return.
Okay, so he's more looking towards the future, but I still like him as
sure
for in terms of the how those two are going to kind of work apart across from each other. But the defense doesn't look good, and they're particularly weak at a place that is not good to be weak, which is cornerback coverage, right? So that defense is going to be rough, but man, their offensive line, if you look at it, you look at their PFF ratings. I know some people are hit or miss on PFF, but even if you look at the talent, that offensive line is arguably top 5 in the NFL. Like it's sneakily Taylor Decker. They've got Jonah Jackson who graded well last year. Frank Ragnow at center. You've got I'm not going to pronounce his first name, but Vaitai, and then you've got Penei Sewell, right? That's a solid offensive line.
Number 3 pick last year, was he the 2 pick? I think it was 3.
He was the number 7 pick in the first round in 2021 out of Oregon. And it's not a terribly old offensive line. They're up late 20s, some of them, early 20s, some of them. So that's really nice. And some underrated, playmakers. Obviously, DJ Chark, you talked about, if he can stay healthy, is a really nice receiver. Amon Ross St. Brown had a nice season in his rookie year, 4th round pick out of USC. And then, Jameson Williams, the speedster out of Alabama, could be a difference maker. And, Goff is not a quarterback who's going to win for you, but you can win games with him. And I know everyone thinks Goff is kind of a short-term bridge quarterback for them, but there's part of me that wonders if he's a Dan Campbell kind of guy, the guy that no one believes in and is going to have that chip on his shoulder, seemed like a consolation prize, an afterthought in a trade. We'll see. They didn't draft a quarterback this year, but this wasn't a good year to draft a quarterback, so that's a fair point. But I mean, they're going to be a trendy pick for people wanting to pick them to be a wild card team. I don't think they're there yet, but they're going to win more games than they did last year, and they're going to be a tough out.
I completely agree. I think this is the year they can start using that term grit, and you actually can describe the Lions. What do you think of the Lions? You got any say over there about the Lions, JG? Are you a secret Lions fan as well, too? A closeted Lions fan?
It's hard not to root for them, man. It's like some of my favorite days of watching football is like, if you don't know, Calvin Johnson's one of my favorite players of all time. So when Matt Staff and Calvin were connecting, it was literally poetry in motion, man. Like that was some of my favorite times watching football. So it's kind of hard not to root for the Lions, especially now. I'm a big Dan Campbell guy. I want to see him succeed. As someone said that a little bit earlier, like I'm a big Dan Campbell guy, and then I watched a little bit of the Hard Knocks too. And that team, they're just so passionate. They have such a big heart, and they want to, really do some things. And last season is this is such a weird like expression, but they are like the best worst team I've ever seen in my life. Like a lot of those games were like within one score,
yes.
one goal, and if they had like 3 or 4 in their favor, I mean, we're talking about bottom 2 playoff spots, and I'm not saying that they would have went far, but that would have been huge for their organization. So I'm a big St. Brown guy. That dude is crazy. I don't know if
and Josh Reynolds too. We forgot to bring up Josh Reynolds.
Oh yeah, Reynolds
nice
too.
Things too.
And I'm a Goff guy too. I like with that offensive line that you're saying, the offensive line is ridiculous. Jared Goff is basically having a picnic back there. He has plenty of time when it comes to chucking the ball. He just needs to, like show a little bit more. I can't think of the word right now, but like a little bit more poise, more leadership and stuff. Because a lot of those games were kind of like in his grasp, and he just kind of let it slip with a late game pick or just a bad completion, not converting on a third and short or a third and long. If Dan Campbell's in his ear saying one play, he should be confident enough to audible and change some things up. But I want to see this team succeed. I want to see what they can do and see the Lions have some good luck in their stuff, because after that Justin Tucker kick, I'm like, I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs or anything if that stuff is happening through the season. So I want to see the Lions succeed, of course.
If they can go 500 in their division, beat the Bears twice, sneak out one against Minnesota or Green Bay, which I think they could, I think they're gonna be sitting pretty. Looking at the Chicago Bears real quick.
Do we have to?
No.
We can just skip over them. There's Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields.
Yeah,
I do. I mean, we're all kind of keeping an eye on Roquan Smith as well too, and Robert Quinn. Those are 2 guys that are targets. I'm a Jalen Johnson fan. I think he's just getting stiffed over there. Jalen Johnson is a beast. And it's a shame what happened to N'Keal Harry. I mean, I like David Montgomery. I just don't think he's going to be able to do anything now in that offense, and sucks for Bears fans, to be honest. That sucks for them. So I think they're going to finish last. You go over to Green Bay. This is where it gets interesting for me. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is going to do Aaron Rodgers things. When is Father Time going to hit him? Will it ever? That's actually a question we have to ask now. Will it do it? Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, another running back combo, arguably the best combo, 1-2 combo in the league. You could have that discussion. And then there's a lot of reports saying Allen Lazard is going to be stepping up. He's going to be that number 1. He's going to be that guy. But, man, they have a lot of questions at receiver. Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, those aren't guys that are going to go get you 1,000 yards, that's for sure. Christian Watson is out right now. Romeo Dubes, Amari Rodgers, these are guys that I honestly have not heard of. How is Aaron Rodgers going to be able to do this? If he can come out and they're the best team after this year, this might be Aaron Rodgers' best season. But Robert Tonyan's out. David Bakhtiari's out. Those are big names for teams that don't have a lot of depth. Their right guard, Jenkins, he's out as well too. Then you go on the defensive side. I mean, I like Devondre Campbell. We all do. We all love what Devondre did here and wish he could have stuck around and done better. But Jair Alexander, one of the best corners in the league, and I love me some Darnell Savage. How does that happen? In that whatever I'm trying to say with the Packers organization, how does that work after signing him to what $47 million over for a year every year, or is it 52 a year? It was a ridiculous number. The Minnesota Vikings, here is the team that I think will win the NFC North. Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison. You could also have that conversation about those two. Dalvin Cook could be the RB1 at the end of the year. He could be. He is that good. He just didn't get the help last year. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne. Yes, please. Irv Smith Jr., who was primed for a damn good season last year and then got hurt right at the beginning. Yes, please. That defense did some things last year. We can talk about Patrick Peterson and Jordan Hicks being over there, but I've always been a supporter of Eric Kendricks, who's a beast. But I think the Vikings have a chance to go up and snag the NFC North. Am I off base here with anybody?
I think it's fair to say they have a chance. They've got a brand new coach, and that's always a question mark. You know, sometimes new coaches come out and hit the ground running, and sometimes they struggle. Yeah. So that we'll see, what kind of coaches they've got the weapons. They've got a capable quarterback. They've got some nice weapons on offense. They've got some solid players on defense. They're a pretty balanced team. So I think the Vikings have as good a chance as anyone with Green Bay, though you can never count them out. With the receiver, they've had receiver questions before, before Devontae Adams kind of emerged and Rodgers finds a way, and Green Bay has a really good defense, a good offensive line, and they have Aaron Rodgers. So, health for some of those players you mentioned will be a key. But I don't completely disagree with that. I think it's between Green Bay and Minnesota. The Lions are going to be frisky and the Bears are going to be ugly.
Hey, if Green Bay is struggling and Detroit can get a couple wins there's a multiverse where it happens. JJ, who do you got for the NFC North?
I actually got the Vikings, man. Like, Green Bay is a lot worse, dude. And like as much as like I've killed Aaron Rodgers throughout his career with just like what he's done in the playoffs.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so. He is a top 5 QB ever, arguably, and I just don't see a dimension that he can really have a really good season. I mean, I'm guessing his number one target is going to be Randall Cobb going forward, but like offensive line's worse, defensive line's worse. Corners are questionable. The whole team's injury prone, just like how they were last year. And like I'm spacing on the head coach's name. What's his name again?
Oh, of course you would ask.
I'm forgetting his name.
Matt LaFleur.
Matt LaFleur. Yeah, thank you, Joe.
Friends with Kyle Shanahan under that whole tree. I had the whole thing in my head, but not the name.
Those two on record are have been like bumping heads and stuff. So I just don't see the Packers really doing much, especially if it comes to playoff time. History repeats itself in a sense, but I'm not going to kill Aaron this year if he doesn't get it done because his team is significantly worse. But with the Vikings, I mean, they're kind of stacked all around, arguably one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league. I'm a big Justin Jefferson guy, even though he can really piss me off sometimes. I really like this team, but with their QB situation, I'm not totally sold. I love Dalvin Cook, but they ran him to the ground and they keep on doing it. And, it's going to get to a point where they're going to have a lot less ammunition when it comes to playoff time. So I think the Vikings win the division and Green Bay comes in second. And I just don't see this division particularly going far or deep into the playoffs.
And that part I agree with.
One wild card I want to throw in there is if Christian Watson, I know he's banged up, but I think he's supposed to be getting back soon from that injury. if he can develop chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, that dude, second round pick from a small school, is immensely talented. He's got all the tools to be a good NFL receiver. And it's funny when you have those great quarterbacks. It was the same way with Brady in New England. Like, it's just a matter, does the receiver click with him or not? And they don't always, But when he finds his guy, right? And Rodgers has kind of been like that too, right? Devontae Adams was his guy.
Yeah.
Randall Cobb inexplicably is still his guy. So the wild card for me is, does Christian Watson become one of Rodgers' guys? Because if he does, and that connection pays off, it could be really good. So I still have the Packers as the team I would most likely bet on to win the division, but Minnesota's right there.
Facts. Those are all good points. Let's head over to the NFC East, and we're gonna speed it up just a little bit to get everybody out of here on time with a nice good rest for tomorrow. NFC East. I'm not sold that the Cowboys are the number one team here. I am very intrigued by the Eagles right now. I really am. A lot of reports saying Jalen Hurts has figured it out, is what is quote for quote being said. You got Miles Sanders, who's a do-it-all back. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I like those. Plus Jalen Reagor, excuse me. I like those targets. Plus Dallas Goedert, which was a nice little pickup there. Fletcher Cox is a dude. Hassan Reddick is a dude. Darius Slay, dude. James Bradbury, he's a dude too. Josh Sweat. I forgot about Josh Sweat. They have a lot of players on this, and maybe it's a new coach that kicks it in their ass, that gets everything straight, and they can become a dynamic team. I mean, I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm not a Cowboys. I don't like anybody in the NFC East, but I'm not just going to hand it over to Dallas this year. Can Dallas do it again if Dak stays healthy? Absolutely. I don't trust Ezekiel Elliott at all. Tony Pollard needs to be the starting running back there. Michael Gallup is still out right now. They traded Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb's going to do CeeDee Lamb things, but trading Amari Cooper, letting him go, I think was just blasphemy. Their line is not like what it was in the mid 2010s, right? They're just not those guys right now. Anthony Barr on defense, out. I like Leighton Vander Esch. I really do. DeMarcus Lawrence, you could talk me into him. Trevon Diggs, I don't think he gets 10 interceptions again. Malik Hooker, I kind of like him. And Micah Parsons is a guy I kind of like too. But these are all like kind ofs, right? And all it takes is one little thing in Cowboys land to go wrong. And things can go very wrong there. And I think it's because it is the Dallas Cowboys. Like, you have these expectations. So when there's one little break in the back, everything else comes tumbling down there. I will forever believe in Dak Prescott, though. I told everybody coming out of Mississippi State, 6th rounders, like, that was wrong. He should have been a 2nd or 3rd rounder. He is good. And then lo and behold, there he is. So when you have the best quarterback in the division, you have a chance to win, obviously. And Dak Prescott is that dude. But look out for the Eagles. Giants, on the other hand, I don't trust Daniel Jones at all. I like Saquon. I like Kenny Galladay. I think that was a loss for the Lions. I wish the Lions could have kept him. I like Kayvon Thibodeau, Leonard Williams, and Dexter Lawrence. I think that's going to be a tough line for a couple of years to come, and Blake Lawrence for that matter. Or Blake Martinez, excuse me, not Blake Lawrence. I just don't believe anything in Daniel Jones. And then you go to the Commanders, they have Carson Wentz. And that's where the conversation ends for me. Period. You got Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel, Dotson, all these dudes, Logan Thomas whenever he gets back, but you have Carson Wentz. Why do you think J.J. Taylor got all those yards and carries last year? Carson Wentz can't throw. And they're learning that. So the dudes that they have on defense are legit, and their defense will win them some games. But I don't trust them. So I'm picking Washington 4, Giants 3, Cowboys 2, and Eagles 1 for my picks. JJ, let's start off with you right now for the NFC East. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't know about the Eagles, man. I think the defense is going to carry a lot of their wins. I'm not totally sold on Jalen Hurts yet. There's nothing that I've seen from Jalen Hurts for me to be excited about per se. I mean, I don't hate the guy or anything. I think he has potential to be better than Dak Prescott maybe in a couple years. But
that's right, Kyler.
like I hate this division so much. It's so mediocre, and it's the Thanksgiving division, man. I just
It's
can't
the
watch it.
Thanksgiving division.
So
Nice.
like
That's
I
fun.
like you know me. I don't like the Cowboys at all. I'm not sold on Dak. Like he has his moments, but he crashes and burns, but he doesn't get killed as killed as Kyler Murray. Zeke, it sucks about Zeke. Uh, I'm a big Ohio State guy. He's never really lived up
Rejected!
to his Ohio State days and stuff. I guess
Rejected!
all right, Michigan, chill out.
Wild shot!
I think the Cowboys are going to win the division like they always do. They're going to probably lose to the Niners again in the playoffs or something like that. But this division, it's just mediocrity, man. It's the same thing every year. Jerry Jones refuses to invest in players and build around a solid foundation. And I feel bad for Cowboys fans to a certain extent, but I mean they anything Jerry does, it's the gospel. And if they want to ride that boat, let them go ahead. I think in a couple of years, I think the Eagles can flourish into something really good. That 2018 team, I absolutely love that Eagles team, and I think one day they can get to that. Jalen Hurts, I think he'll get the hell out of here with that, Sonia. Yeah, I'll give Jalen Hurts another couple of years. I feel like you need to drop your expectations down a little bit more, just considering their
Sure.
schedule going forward. But I think Dallas wins the division, and then Eagles are a little behind. But everybody else we don't need to talk about. So,
Joe, what do you think?
I know you want to get through this on time, so I will make this quick and concise. The Cowboys have the best quarterback. The Eagles have the best roster.
Bingo.
The Commanders have the best coach, and the Giants have the best chance to get the number 1 overall pick.
I like that.
But I'm going to say I think the Eagles and the Cowboys will be duking it out for number 1. I could see it going either way, but I like the Eagles a little bit better because I just don't like the Cowboys. But I know you're out on Wentz, and I'm not in on Wentz, but I'm in on Ron Rivera has won with lesser quarterbacks. So they'll be feisty and fighting for a wild card spot. I don't know if they'll get there.
I do, if fantasy fans, I do think it's intriguing to grab Antonio Gibson, because if they're going to have to run the ball like Ron Rivera wants to, I think Antonio Gibson is going to be that guy, especially finding out that Carson Wentz is not the most accurate passer. And unfortunately, my favorite player in this division is Terry McLaurin. I love Terry McLaurin and what he does. Man, that guy is massively underrated. If he could get a QB to play with him for 2+ seasons in a row, where we can get some rhythm and establish it, I think he's just going to jump off the charts. I absolutely love Terry McLaurin. But for me, I got the Eagles. And then Cowboys number 2. Let's hop over the AFC quickly. AFC South. I don't think much needs to be said about the Houston Texans, and arguably the number 1 pick incoming right here for these guys. I'm a Marlon Mack fan. It was a bummer what happened to him in Indy getting hurt, and then J.J. Taylor showing out. I think Marlon Mack was very underrated. I love Brandon Cooks and everything he's done through the years, but unfortunately, you got Davis Mills. Don't have much of a defense to speak of. And that's kind of that. My pick for this year is not the Titans. I am going with the Colts this year with Matt Ryan, Matty Ice going in there. Exactly what they did with dude from San Diego that just retired recently. They're picking up Phillip Rivers. Thank you. They're picking up that same playbook and they're going with it. If you're not picking high and you can't get a good quarterback, run it with old guys a la Phillip Rivers or Carson Palmer. I get it. And Matty Ice can still be that guy when everything is working around him. J.J. Taylor, RB1, period, right? Nyheim Hines, Phillip Lindsay, that could be the best running back room. And it probably is. That is probably the best running back room in all of football. Phillip Lindsay, Hines, Taylor, come on. Those are killers right now. Then you got Michael Pittman Jr. Then you got Paris Campbell coming in. Mo Alley Cox is a very underrated tight end. And Matt Ryan loves to use tight ends. For anybody that needs a tight end, look at Mo Alley Cox. and look at what Matt Ryan has done in the past with all of his tight ends, especially a dude that went to Cleveland just a couple years ago. He was a Atlanta tight end, went over there. Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper was like tight end 2 or 3 to end a couple seasons ago. So just look at Mo Alley-Cox. Quentin Nelson, arguably the best lineman in the game. Then you got DeForest Buckner, Yannick Ngakoue, Shaq Leonard, who's unfortunately out right now, and Julian Blackmon and Stephon Gilmore at cornerback. Like, this is a team primed and ready to go when we can have the conversation that they might be a favorite coming out of the AFC. You can have that conversation with me. We're going to talk about Cincy and a couple other teams, but I really like the Colts. Jacksonville, I'm curious what Christian Kirk does. I'm very curious to see what Christian Kirk does, and Travis Etienne and James Robinson. Trevor Lawrence, kind of like. Marvin Jones Jr., pretty good. Defense has Davon Hamilton, Trayvon Walker, and, Josh Allen. That's kind of about it for them. So another building year, another first-year head coach. Hopefully they have healthy players. Let's see what they do. And Tennessee, they keep losing dudes left and right, man. They just keep losing dudes. You still got Derrick Henry. You still got Treylon Burks. They have Austin Hooper now. Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback. So, I'm not sold on them. I think they're number 2. I think the Colts are number 1. Anybody else disagree?
I think you're about right. I'd like to highlight another rookie, Alec Pierce, wide receiver out of Cincinnati, second-round picks, looking good. He was a guy I really liked coming into the draft for the Colts. Just another guy. If he hits, that just adds to their weapons. So, I think the Colts seem like the best pick in that division.
What do you think, JJ?
Quick question for you guys. I'm actually curious because I heard this question floating around. Who do you think is going to win more games, the Jaguars or the Patriots?
Patriots.
I feel like it's close. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is going to kind of go up a bit.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
Mac Jones had a nice rookie year. Bill Belichick is, I do believe he's the best coach in the NFL. Even without, I think he can win without Brady. He's not going to be as good, but I think.
Don't start with me.
Not a fan?
I'm not a Bill Belichick fan.
I'm not a fan. But I respect his game.
I will not say anything of the sorts.
No, but Evan, I think you're right on the money about this division. The Titans, I think their year was last year with all the weapons that they had, but injuries killed them, and we know how Tannehill can be sometimes, and Derrick Henry got hurt on the back half of the season, and just going into now, they don't have Julio anymore. Who knows how Derrick Henry is going to be, and plus you're relying on Tannehill now. So
best cheating coach yet. Atta girl, Sonia.
So I definitely think you're on the money about this division. I do want to see a redemption from Matty Ice with the Colts. I love the Colts system. It worked for Rivers. It worked for Carson Wentz to a certain extent. And I'll love to see what Matt Ryan does with it because I think he still has some gas in the tank.
All fair points. Let's move over to the AFC East. Why don't we? New York Jets, Mekhi Becton going down.
Buffalo wins it.
Buffalo for sure wins it. The Jets are going to jet 3, 4, 5 wins incoming. I really don't want to talk too much about Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco over there. To me, Buffalo's number 1. I'm going to go with Miami number 2. Is Tua going to break out and be as good as people are kind of coming out and saying?
I want to see
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You can sell me on that. Our boy Trent Sherfield is over there. He's lining up as a second unit. So way to go,
Chase
Trent.
Edmonds.
I'd love to see Sherf do some things over there. Listen to this running back group though. Not only Chase Edmonds, who we're all very curious about what he does and if he can stay healthy. You got Raheem Mostert, number 2, also injury question. Sony Michel and Myles Gaskin. That is a very deep room full of talent, but not a lot of producers. One of them has to be able to step up if they want to have a good season. Mike Gesicki, obviously a legitimate player. Then you got Roquan Davis on defense, Emmanuel Ogba, Jalen Phillips, Xavier Howard. They've got a lot of guys back there who I like. Patriots, I mean, Mac Jones was Mac Jones. I wasn't anything special, but neither was Tom Brady to start off with. I do like Damian Harris and James White. I really like Damian Harris. I mean, he had like the most touchdowns inside the 5-yard line, I think, last year. Devontae Parker is a wide receiver up there now. How is he going to do up there? Then Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry with Jonnu Smith. They got the double tight ends again. Defense, they've got dudes that we could talk about. Lawrence Guy, Forks Up being one of them, but obviously the Buffalo Bills, man. Josh Allen's, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. Watch out for Gabriel Davis, you guys. If you're not picking him up on fantasy in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round, something's wrong with you. Watch out for him. I like me some Dawson Knox as well, too, and OJ Howard at tight end. They've got guys on defense in their 4-3 with Ed Oliver. And don't forget, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, and newly signed Von Miller back there. Trying to get OBJ, too. So, Bills 1, Dolphins 2, Pats 3, that other green team from New York 4. Joe, what do you got for us on the AFC East? We can go over a little bit to get through these.
I think you're pretty much right on the mark there. I think that's probably how it pans out. I could see New England. I know you don't want to hear about Belichick. Who? I could see them fighting for that second place. Yeah. Who? Have you seen any of the memes and the stuff TuaNon? The Tua truthers?
No.
You'll need to Google that. There's a Twitter account. There's a video. It's hilarious. The Tua truthers, TuaNon. But I think the Miami Dolphins are seem to be one of those teams that is a trendy pick to have, a fiery, offense in terms of, with the receivers and such. And, people really like Jalen Waddle, and understandably so. And then, the moves that they've made, adding, now I'm bringing it up.
I found it.
You found TuaNon, right? Adding Tyreek Hill, right? It's hilarious. Yeah. Tua is the big question mark, but they've got a good roster. Buffalo, though, they are to the AFC, to me, what Tampa Bay is the NFC in terms of the most complete roster, or one of the most complete rosters up in Buffalo. Not many weaknesses. And if you want to say they have a weakness, maybe it's running back. And if you're going to have a weakness, that's where you want it. You just need guys. If you got a good offensive line, you just need some guys. And I like the guy, James Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother, who's a great receiving back. He's going to be a nice addition. So I think Buffalo is in contention for the top of the AFC in general, the number 1 seed.
I'm a big Buffalo guy, man. Josh Allen coming into the league. Got a lot of shit, but I always kind of had faith in him. And now, he had one of the craziest, best playoff performances I've seen from a young QB in a long time. That happened against the Chiefs last season. So I have high hopes for Buffalo, just going forward in general. And Joe, you're right. They're definitely going to be repping the AFC, in my opinion, going into the playoffs. But it's Buffalo and everybody else is underneath. So.
Yep, completely agree. Let's move on. Well, we're going to get into the AFC North now. AFC North is a very intriguing division this year. I think ultimately Cincinnati comes out if Joe Burrow is healthy. Obviously, he had the appendectomy, which shouldn't be too terrible, but in my opinion, this is the best wide receiver room. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, wow. All those three. I think the Arizona Cardinals might have the most depth 1 through 5, plus their receiving options at tight end. But I think the Bengals depth chart just at wide receiver at the top is tremendous. I love Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon showed out last year, as he's supposed to. Their offensive line is better. Joe Burrow, I think, is going to be a little bit better. That defense is going to be a little bit better. I really like this team. Number 2 for me, I'm going to go with Baltimore. Does J.K. Dobbins stay healthy? Does Gus Edwards stay healthy? Can they have a running game, right? Can Lamar Jackson do enough things with the lack of weapons and no Hollywood there. I mean, Mark Andrews is my tight end number 1 this year, by the way. I mean, who else is going to catch passes? He's my tight end number 1 right now. But can that group do enough on offense to support a dope defense like they have? I mean, it makes me so sad. They have Josh Bynes starting. That just makes me sad. Like, another guy we had right there sitting for us that was cheap. Just and gone. Marcus Peters, when is he going to get back? Marlon Humphrey. I mean, I love this defense along with Calais Campbell. So sad. And I don't know who to pick for 3rd and 4th between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Cleveland has the better running back tandem, but they have drama going on. The Pittsburgh Steelers have Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph. Like, that's hard to win. They're not going to win a lot. That defense can win games. Najee Harris is going to be a top 3 running back again this year. They got some Deontay Johnson, Claypool, Pickens. They got some nice guys on the outside. I don't trust that running or the quarterback room, and I don't trust the things going on in Cleveland. JJ, who do you see, since you're an Ohio native, who do you see being last in that division?
Man, that's tough. Mike Tomlin is such a good coach, man. Like, you think he's going to break even, if not like a game or two, like above 500. Going in with Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky, maybe. I mean, the offensive line is solid. The defense isn't, something to go crazy about, but outside of TJ Watt. So I would have to go with the Browns last because of their quarterback situation. I mean, it was announced today that Watson's going to be playing game 1 of the preseason for them. And, I mean, we're just going to see how that goes with them. Cleveland shot themselves in the foot by kind of pulling the trigger on Watson kind of early in the process. I don't think there was much of a bidding war when it came to getting him. They definitely should have waited, kind of killed their chances. But it's gonna be tough for the bottom 2 at least. But when it comes to just the top pick alone, I think Cincinnati comes out again. They did make improvements a little bit on the offensive line, which was really bad last year. But PFF says that they're right in the middle. They're kind of average, but Joe Burrow was running for his life. But I think Cincinnati makes it out. Than Baltimore, with Lamar missing his number 1 option. Now we have him. I don't know. I've never been too crazy about Lamar. I think Kyler is a better QB at the end of the day. Not to say Lamar is good either. But Lamar just needs to stay healthy. I mean, I know he's looking for his paycheck and all that stuff, and this might be his prove a year to secure that contract and prove the haters wrong. I guess haters being me, I guess. So, I definitely see Cincinnati winning this. I think pretty favorably too. So,
Joe, where are you at?
I'm a little more bullish on Baltimore, I think, than y'all are. I know you like them. I have a lot of respect for how they build their roster and how they do things, and they have the sustained success.
A solid roster.
Yeah, and the way they draft and Rashad Bateman was first round pick last year is a guy that they're going to need to have step up, and kind of develop. So I really liked him coming out. I think it was Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, where he was playing college ball. I think I might be wrong. I really liked him, and so if he can kind of step up, that could be huge in filling that void. But I like their defense, and I think their offense always finds a way to do enough. But it's going to be between them and Cincinnati. It's a dogfight between those two. The question, does Cincinnati have a little bit of a regression year on defense in particular? I agree with you. Their receiver room is the best in the NFL. But on defense, it's a little bit of a patchwork defense. There's some good players there, but some of them had really good years last year that were atypical. So we'll see. Do they, especially at cornerback, does that happen again for them? Pittsburgh on paper should be the bottom of the division, but Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season as a head coach and is underrated. He's respected, but underrated. When you're talking about
boom shakalaka,
that's right, damn it. When you're talking about best coaches in the NFL, you better put some respect on his name, right? But they don't, right? But, is Kenny Pickett, the rookie, going to be starting for them? You don't know. Quarterback situation's tough. I worry that this might be his first non-500 season, but he's not gonna win 3 games. He's gonna be like 7 games or 8 games.
Sure.
He's gonna find a way. And you said drama with Cleveland. I say karma. Like if there's justice in this universe, they're gonna be last place. When you saw the BS kind of way they tried to spin the Watson thing, I hope that the whole Deshaun Watson thing blows up in the Browns' face. Nothing against the Browns, but I hope it becomes a cautionary tale that powerful teams and people stop protecting people who are doing the kinds of stuff Deshaun Watson did. So, hell yeah. If there's justice in the universe, then the Browns are going to struggle. Sorry if you're a Browns fan, but
I love it.
That's right. Jacoby Brissett's probably going to be the starting quarterback. I talked about this on my stream last time.
I'll root for him, though. I will root for Jacoby. Absolutely.
I just got to wonder, though. He keeps finding his way into starting lineups. Does he make voodoo dolls of the quarterbacks and the teams he goes to? Because, you know what I'm saying?
Like in Major League? What was
one of Andrew Luck.
What was he doing in Major League that he was bringing? Joe Boo. He has yeah.
I mean, he ends up starting in for the Colts because Andrew Luck retires, and now here he is, finds his way to Cleveland, and then coincidence, I don't know. So anyway, but yeah, it's between the Bengals and the Ravens for me. And if I have to pick one, I'm just to go different. I'm gonna go Baltimore, but it'll be close.
And it could be maybe their defense steps up with everybody healthy too. Maybe they are that much better with everybody healthy. You know, injuries are a bitch. That happens. AFC West, the best division in football this year. All 4 teams could not only compete for the Super Bowl, they could win the division. They could win the AFC. All of them. I don't know who's going to be last. And to be completely honest with you, I think it comes down to an injury game. And it's looking like that could potentially be Denver early, but we'll see how things play out. I don't know who to pick last, but I do have an idea who I think might be first. I think it might be the Chargers this year. For me, I'm going to go with the Chargers. I want to start with the defense. Not only Joey Bosa and Asante Samuel Jr., they got the homie Khalil Mack. They pick up J.C. Jackson just in time for Devontae Adams. Sorry, I was thinking of Devontae Green or something. Just in time for Devontae Adams to get signed and play over here. And Tyreek Hill leaves. They had so much momentum last year. So much momentum. I like what the Chargers are doing. Remember they got Corey Linsley at center, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, Gerald Everett, the pass catchers. Who doesn't love a little bit of Austin Eckler and Isaiah Spiller? Isaiah Spiller was not picked high enough, in my opinion. I think he was I wanted the Cardinals to pick him up. He's one of the better picks down there. And then Justin Herbert is that guy. Our good buddy who came up with the name of He's on Fire podcast, Albert, a longtime San Diego fan, is a little salty right now. I know, you're right. It is fool's gold probably, but I like what they've built together at the last few years. We can get into the Raiders. I think if I were to pick one, they might be last. I really think getting Chandler Jones is fool's gold. You want to talk about fool's gold? I think it's Chandler Jones. I like Denzel Perryman to a point. Max Crosby, I think, is their best defensive player. I love Max Crosby. You could talk to me about Josh Jacobs and Hunter Renfrow and Devontae Adams and Darren Waller and stuff, but there's just something about Derek Carr I don't personally trust. Kansas City, I think, takes a step back. They got Juju, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Merkel Hardman, and Travis Kelce, which is great for Mahomes. And can Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually stay healthy and Ronald Jones back him up? Defense, this is the worst defense in that division. One reason I think the Colts are going to be really good is because the defenses that they play in that division, and that's going to be some free wins for them, as opposed to teams like Kansas City. I don't think anybody here is going to get a home game in the playoffs. I mean, one will because they'll win, obviously, but they're not going to have home games throughout. So I think that's a benefit to everybody else. Kansas City takes a step down, and then what are the Broncos going to look like? That's the biggest X factor. What's Russell going to look like with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, are another arguably top 5 running back room? I do like me some Cortland Sutton, excuse me. I do love me some Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, very, very underrated, and I think he's going to do amazing things there. I still like their defense with Pat Surtain, the second, Kareem Jackson, Ronald Darby, Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory, if he can get it together. DJ Jones. I like DJ Jones coming from KC. That's a good defense too. So for me, I got the Chargers on top, the Raiders on the bottom. I don't know how the rest is going to fit, if I'm being honest. Joe, let's start with you. Toughest division in football, yay or nay?
Yeah, and the toughest to pick, right? As you've said. And listen, if you told me you could arrange the outcome of this division in any order, and I'd believe it, right? If you told me that's what's going to happen, but we have to kind of pick. To me, Vegas, Las Vegas,
knife to the throat.
Right. Las Vegas is, to me, the team I have the least confidence in. Everyone's talking about them because of Devontae Adams. I think Derek Carr is a nice quarterback, but I think he's kind of in that. He's like a poor man's Kirk Cousins.
Like the 12 to 18 range, right?
Right. If you have a good team around him, especially a good defense, you can win with him. But I don't think they have that kind of defense, right? Max Crosby's great, but yeah. So for me, they're kind of at the bottom, and then the Denver Broncos, I think, are probably the next. They're third. And for me, then it's between Kansas City and the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Chiefs at the top of the division, but if you told me the Chargers won it, I'd totally buy it. Just Mahomes, to me, is still the dude at quarterback. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now in terms of talent and what he can do. Yes, they've lost some key players, but they'll find a way with Andy Reid, and they've still got enough talent to put up points. But the Chargers, I feel like, are the most complete team in that division. They're right there.
JJ, what do you got?
This is definitely the hardest division in the league. And when it came to picking a bottom one, it was actually really easy for me. I think the Broncos are going to be last.
Really?
Just some petty stuff towards Russell Wilson.
He's heating up.
Ride high, mile high city.
Let's ride.
Let's ride. Yeah, that's what it was.
Let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride.
Yeah, let's ride. But I think the Broncos are going to be last. Definitely better position than what Seattle was going to be if Russell stayed. I think they're going to be last, considering everything else they have to go through the gauntlet. I have a buddy. He's a Raiders fan, and he's actually more of an NFL guy than a Raiders fan in this sense. And he's kind of talked me into the Raiders a little bit. I talked a lot of smack about them last season. Just in general, because I've never been relatively sold on them, but considering what they went through last year with the whole Gruden situation and with the injuries and what Derek Carr and the rest of the team were able to pull off towards the end of the season, it kind of opened my eyes up a little bit. So I'm gonna give them a little bit of praise and a little bit of leeway when it comes to ranking these teams, but I think the Chargers win the division. I think pretty comfortably, I would say. The Chiefs, they're missing some key players. The defense was suspect last year. It's even worse this year. Their back safeties and free safeties are not in a good position, really. It's just going to be deep balls and one-on-ones. And with any team that's going to go against them, especially the Cardinals week 1, I think that's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to feed it down there. I think the Chargers, they win that division with the Chiefs coming in second. And I'm going to put the Raiders third, but I wouldn't be this surprised if the Raiders actually take the second spot and the Chiefs fall down to third. I like Mahomes, but there's a lot more question marks I'm seeing from the Chiefs than I am the Raiders, and And I think the Raiders pick up Raekwon Smith. Is that the guy from Chicago? The one that's seeking a trade. If they end up
Wow.
picking him up and filling that linebacker spot, I think that helps with that defense tremendously. So,
Wow, that is a
so
fair point. That would be a
yeah,
game changer for them.
yeah, so if they pick him up, I think they're looking a lot better going forward. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders come in at the second spot. So.
Man, I can't wait to see how this shakes out. I can't. Last, certainly not least, our very own NFC West. I do not want to talk a lick about Seattle, except I have one question for both of you, then we'll get on to the rest of the teams. Does DK Metcalf demand a trade before next season begins? Yay or nay? Jay Joyce.
No. I want to say yeah, but no.
Say no, he got paid.
Yeah. If Tyler Lockett didn't do it, I don't think DK does it.
Hey, the only thing I'll say is Kenneth Walker III, the running back out of Michigan State. He's up there now. Watch out for him. I'm not saying pick him in leagues or anything because I think Geno Smith and Drew Lock and Jacob Eason is just a catastrophe in the quarterback room. But I do like me some Kenneth Walker. He hasn't put on that jersey yet, so I can say that, we'll see. And Noah Fant's probably going to be able to do some things. So, them aside, I think the Niners win the division. I think the Rams are 2, and I think the Cardinals are 3. I don't trust Cliff Kingsbury. I don't like what they've done on defense in the offseason and their additions or lack of. It's frustrating to watch. I love what they've done on offense, but it's proven time and time again that either Cliff Kingsbury or Kyler Murray, they stop being on the same page. Year after year, they fumble. And I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is a leader of men. I don't. And I've been on record of saying that multiple times. I would love to come on and eat some crow if I am wrong about that. Like, prove me wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to root for this team. I want him to be the best head coach in the league. I just don't think he is. I think they finished with, I'm not going to say the record because we haven't gotten that show yet. Can't spoil that. But I think the Niners are 1. I mean, dude, their depth chart. Just this is their their defensive line. Drake Jackson, Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shahir, Travarius Ward starting it off on the secondary, Jimmy Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Jason Verrett. Like, I think they have by far the best defense. They don't have the best defensive player. In fact, the Rams have the top 2 defensive players in Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, but this is the most complete defense. Everything that we're hearing out of camp is Brandon Ayuk is that guy. He has turned into another number 1 receiver for them. I mean, forks up. We knew that was going to happen. You could have told us you should have picked him in the first round in the top 10 picks. We knew this was coming out of him. You still got George Kittle. You still got Juszczyk. You still got a dope offensive line. Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, Jeff Wilson, another top 5 running back room. But Trey Lance, everything that I'm hearing, dude, is that Trey Lance is going to be dangerous. If he was even remotely accurate last year, we lose to them in the game that our Max Williams goes down in, the one at home. We would lose that game. And he needs a little bit of seasoning. Definitely shouldn't have tried to take Isaiah Simmons one-on-one. But if Trey Lance is better than Jimmy Garoppolo by a margin, I'm officially worried. Number 2, I think you just have the natural Super Bowl pullback, the drop of whatever when it comes to the Rams. I do like their addition of Allen Robinson. I do like Bobby Wagner. Anybody that says Bobby Wagner isn't good anymore can eat crow. Tyler Higbee, Van Jefferson, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp. But here's my thing with them. In my opinion, and we've seen this every single year of this guy's career, Matt Stafford gets injured. Last year was the outlier. Healthy, full 16 games to play, that's the outlier for Matt Stafford. 100%. And then OBJ comes in and things just click. It was like the perfect freaking storm for them. That's just my 2 cents. They do have a healthy running back. Remember going into the season last year, all their running backs were hurt. So now they're healthy, but they didn't need them to win anyways. but I think they take the step back. I think Matt Stafford, who's already dealing with an elbow injury, that kind of starts creeping up, and I think San Fran takes it. I don't like saying that. I don't like the Niners. I don't like the Rams. Can somebody please prove me wrong and make me believe in my beloved Arizona Cardinals? Joe, can we start with you? The man that hosts the Cardinal Rule.
I'm an optimist when it comes to the Cardinals, and some people think I'm too optimistic. So I will put that out there in the universe. I actually like the moves the Cardinals made, with one exception. They need there's another move they need to make. They need to add a veteran cornerback. Okay. But in terms of the players they let walk, Chandler Jones, you described him as fool's gold yourself, right? So they let him walk, and I thought it was the right move, not paying the amount of money he wanted to make. I think it was the right move to draft some young edge rushers and let those guys get some playing time. But, when you look at the collapse, we've all seen the stat that Cliff Kingsbury's second half collapse is going back to Texas Tech, and that's fair. And it's probably has something to do with his system, not making the kinds of adjustments he needs to make. But what I always say about Cliff Kingsbury is the dude is smart and he works hard, and that's a combination I'm willing to bet on.
Sure.
And he has been making adjustments. He's using the tight end more than he did when he came into the league. And
Agreed.
I think he's going to continue to make adjustments. So this is a little bit of a leap of faith, hoping and trusting that he's going to look at what happened last year and make some adjustments. But I also think there's another reason that they collapsed in the second half, and it was injuries and lack of depth. When they had great top line talent, but it was at depth where they were lacking. And when you look at the moves they made, they didn't go out and sign top line talent. And they didn't make the big splash moves that fans wanted. And that's why fans have been kind of irate about it. But what they did do is I think, quietly build some depth. Their offensive line is deeper than it was last year. You've got, Hernandez in there starting. Now you have two guys on the bench in Justin Murray and Josh Jones who have started for them before, who are now depth. You have a couple rookies instead of undrafted free agents. You at least have day 3 rookies that, Lacita Smith and Marquise Hayes that I kind of like as developmental.
And Sean Harlow.
Sean Harlow, former 4th round pick of the Falcons, who's made some strides. So they have guys now that were starters for them in the past, not top line starters, but that are now depth. So they've added depth on the defense. The cornerback room, they need to have depth. But if they sign Robert Alford back or someone who's comparable to him, their cornerback room is last year's cornerback room plus former 2nd round pick Josh Jackson, who I'm a little bit optimistic about, at least as a depth guy. So it's no worse if they can bring in a veteran, they're where they were. But you're going to pass rush. They lost Chandler Jones, and the guys they brought in are not Chandler Jones, but they do have depth. They have a couple rookies they can develop. They have some guys, they can develop. So they did not address the frontline talent, but they brought in depth to where you have to go further down their depth chart before you have to get to guys off the street who are undrafted free agents. They have day 3 draft picks as depth now, and that's what good teams do. You get those guys in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round. You develop them into guys that may not sometimes they're starters, but a lot of times they're depth. But last year we were signing guys off the street in the second half of the season to start at cornerback for us, and at other positions. So I think they've done some things at that deeper depth level that hopefully will help them to sustain when inevitably some injuries come down the pipeline.
But do you think they finish first in the division?
No. I think they have a chance. Listen, their ceiling with their offensive playmakers and with a quarterback like Kyler Murray is a Super Bowl. But is that the safe bet? No. I mean, I think I would still put the Rams ahead of San Francisco. I'm not sold on Trey Lance, but I hear your point about the 49ers depth. I think, their coach does a good job out there, especially in terms of his run schemes and things like that. I would push back on the Matthew Stafford injury narrative. His first 2 years, he got injured a lot. He played 10 games his rookie year, 3 games the next year. And he had this, kind of this narrative about him as injury prone, but he played He did not miss a game from 2011 to 2018.
No. I know that part, but he's always got the finger, the wrist,
okay,
the shoulder,
so the nagging
something
injuries.
to something, and the nagging injuries,
Okay.
and then he's throwing 2 touchdowns, and the Lions are up 21-7, and then he throws 3 straight picks.
Right.
Because of these nagging injuries.
Okay, so that's fair. He doesn't miss games though as much as people think, right?
No, correct.
But I still have the Rams as the class of the division, and I think man, the Cardinals are the high variance team though. Like, you tell me they're third place, I believe it. You tell me they're first place, I believe it. The only thing I don't believe is fourth place, because that shit is Seattle, right? But the Cardinals, it's just hard to tell, but it's a youth movement on defense, but man, they got playmakers on offense, and that can carry you far.
JJ, let's hear your official stance. Who wins the NFC West?
I'm really disappointed in you, Evan. Like, I didn't think you were gonna go that route. But
don't start with me.
I'm rolling high with the Cardinals, dude. Like, I think the Rams are gonna start off a little bit slow, like you mentioned, with the Super Bowl hangover. And I think we'll probably go even by the time D-Hop comes back. If we get it to week 7 and we're 3-3 and we have D-Hop back, I think a lot more things open for us. And I think that's a great start into just pacing ourselves and splitting up wins and not trying to run ourselves to the ground. And we get to the playoffs healthy, and Kyler can develop his game like he's done every season thus far. I think Kyler's going to be in MVP talks. I think Cliff has learned. I have a lot of faith in just everything that's going on with the defensive side of things. I think I kind of put a lot of questions around our D-line, which it's very valid, but I think we can get by to a certain extent. I do want to see a Isaiah Simmons jump. Of course, the Rams scare me, with Sean McVay. He's my Freddy Krueger when it comes to this division and stuff. He just haunts us all the time. So, obviously he's going to be lingering and stuff. I'm not sold on Trey Lance whatsoever. Training camp videos, we can talk about those all day, but I just I need to see something. Like Jimmy G, he's a very good QB. He's just inconsistent as hell, and he gets injured. So with Trey Lance being the starter, I think they're going to have a lot of dud games. I don't think they're going to get to that number 1 position in the division. I think they're going to be at 3rd, right above Seattle. Then I think the Rams come 2nd and the Cardinals 1st, but it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be tight like it was last year, but I think the Cardinals wins are going to be a little more spread out. I don't think we start 8-0 or 7-0 like we did last season. I said this at the end of the season. If our wins were sort of split up, the conversations would have been completely different. We wouldn't we would have been talking about firing Vance Joseph and Cliff Kingsbury if let's say going into week 12, we were 8-4 or something. We would have totally been cool with that. So I think the Cardinals get the number 1 seed. I'm gonna be optimistic and stuff, but I think we go even going into game 7, and I think as soon as we get D-Hop back or he gets a reduction somehow, I don't know if that ship has sailed yet, but I think once we get him back, a lot of things will open up for us. So.
That part I agree with.
I thought I was optimistic. I tip my cap to you, Mr. J. Joyce.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you. last year he predicted 13 wins.
No.
Nice.
And they were close. If it wasn't for injuries, he would have hit it dead on. I'll say this, spoiler alert for our preview episode for the Cardinals schedule release. I do think the Arizona Cardinals beat Kansas City week 1. I think there's upset alert just everywhere there, especially the way we handled Tennessee last year. Tennessee was supposed to run us over. We've already talked about KC. How are they going to react with losing everybody? Their defense, I think, is very trashy at best. And this is Kyler's team, clearly. I do think Kyler is primed for a huge 5,000 yard year, like a huge monstrous season, especially with Hollywood Brown. I just don't like when push comes to shove at the end of the day in week 16, I don't trust us to get it done. And I hate saying that because that's just what I feel. This is, I mean, the first 6 games, Kansas City, at Las Vegas, the Rams, at Carolina, home to Philadelphia, then finally at Seattle. In those first 6 games, there's only one game that should be a guaranteed W. Carolina owns us. Philadelphia, we talked about being a tough team. Los Angeles, yeah, we're going to want to beat them that game for damn sure, but they're a talented team, and they could win the West in the Super Bowl again. And then you got Vegas at Vegas. That's going to be their first home game with Devontae Adams and everybody in company. So there's just a lot, and no more. We're not going to say anymore who's going to win or lose those games, but that's a lot to overcome. I think you're right. I think 3-3 at that juncture, then we could do something. If we're 3-3 right there, I would be happy. But that's what we're talking about, is 3-3. Like that's kind of my problem. That's my problem, and why I don't trust going down the season. So that's where we're at. We can make Super Bowl picks and everything, but I think it's going to be harder this year than any other year. I think the X factor in the AFC to me is the Colts. I think the X factor in the NFC is probably the Niners, because I think you could talk about the Bucks and Rams, but I think the Niners are right there, and I hate it. But I did pick the winner of the NFC West, NFC, and the Super Bowl championship correct last year. So give me a little credit. Give me my dues there. Give me something.
Good job.
We are way over, and this was a lot of fun. This was a great podcast. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. He's on Fire podcast. Catch us on YouTube. Catch us on Twitter. You know, all that fun stuff. But also catch us at azsportsunderground.com now. First article of mine will be coming out tomorrow or the next day. It's going to be coming up here soon. Also catch us on ASAP Sports Network. Joe, thank you so much for coming out, man. Thank you for explaining to everybody what you're doing on your side with the Cardinal rule. And if you want to follow him, link is in the bio, as well as AZ Sports Underground. Thank you again for coming in, and we're going to chop it up soon, right? We're going to have you on a couple podcasts.
You just tell me when, and I'll have you back on the Cardinal Rule. Jade, love have you as well. This was a blast. I love talking football. You guys are good dudes, so anytime.
We appreciate it. And where can they find you, Joe?
You can find me on Twitter at Comeau13. It's JOKOMO 13, and you can find me at the Cardinal Rule on YouTube. Those are the 2 places to find me. And then, well, there's a third one now, AZ Sports Underground. You can find my writing there as well.
AZ Sports Underground. Everybody bookmark that page. I felt inspired when you were talking about the Cardinals, JJ. So I want you to close out the show for us and leave us with our words of wisdom that we kind of strayed away from. Do you got anything from us from an Arizona Cardinals standpoint? Leave us feeling warm and fuzzy, and then we'll get out of here.
I think there's a lot to be excited for with this year. I mean, we had a few Pro Bowlers that really shined last year. We have James Conner back, and Kyler's just gotten better every season that we've had him. And I think he's going to make a jump because a lot of people have been trashing his name, calling out his leadership skills, and what he did for that kid the last few days was really tight.
The jersey signing, that one?
Yeah, the jersey signing.
That was cool.
And then he's been one of the last players to leave the field when it comes to signing autographs, and he's showing a lot of love to the fans and all that. And I think he's really buying back his stock with some of the fans, considering how the start of the offseason went, and kind of making up for that in a sense, which I appreciate. I think there's a lot to be excited about with this Arizona Cardinals team going forward. I know the last half of the season was really bad, and when you watch Sports Center,
the last halves of the last 3 seasons were really bad.
More specifically, this one, if you watch Good Morning Football and Sports Center and stuff, they're going to leave out a lot of details about how the Cardinals season went. They're just going to say, oh, they just gave up on half of the season. No, it was injuries. Kyler came back injured. J.J. Watt got injured. D-Hop was off and on with injury. There was injuries top to bottom. And then, of course, coaching was a thing. But, when you're lacking depth and you're picking guys up from the Filibertos across the street, I mean, what can you do? Yeah. So I think going into the season, I would, not hold your breath, starting 6-0. Just be optimistic. It's a process, but I really think we can really do something special this season, especially if we come out and really ball out against the Chiefs and really make a staple, and then we just pace ourselves going towards the end of the season. But I'll leave it at that. You can find me at Jay Joyce. You haven't met Ahmed yet, Joe, but we run the After Dark show. I don't know if you've tuned in.
I tuned in once or twice.
Yeah, so I don't know if you watch like movies or anything like that, but if
y'all doing some Marvel stuff, I saw that.
Yeah, so yeah, if you ever want to hop on, just message and we just kind of go off of that. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jay Joyce. You can see me arguing with Boston Celtics fans about the KD trade that's going on right now, and if y'all have any questions or comments or concerns, or you just need some optimism in your life, just at me and I'll make your day feel better.
Just follow Jay Joyce. Gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure. I finally got to talk football with all the teams involved, and it was great to finally be able to do this. Joe, thank you again for coming on.
Yeah.
Jay Joyce, thank you for hosting After Dark, creating all the dope thumbnails. We're going to be back Sunday because we're going twice a week now, every Wednesday, every Sunday. We're glad to be here, glad to be a partner with azsportsunderground.com. He's on Fire Podcast. Sunday.
Urban Beach is set. Looks up.